Right. A fabric of rural New Zealand every July is, of course, the glamorous event of the annual FMG Young Farmer of the Year contest. This year it was set to be hosted here in the Garden City in Christchurch, but sadly, yet another event to put up the See You Next Year sign on the door. We're joined on the phone now on Cirrus Country with CEO of New Zealand Young Farmers, Lynda Coopersmith. Firstly, Lynda, we are generating comments on the live stream on who you would buy a box for, who's helped you out lately.
Who I'd buy a box for? So, I would have to probably say Michelle Stevens from FMG.
Totally, hands down, an absolute legend. She is a legend, absolutely. I was meant to be emceeing an event for her coming up too in Taupo, which I was really looking forward to just simply hanging out with her because she's such a good lady. Yeah. And I mean,
amazing.
FMG would have been incredibly supportive around the decisions that you've had to make. I mean, I don't need to ask about the reason why you've needed to make the call, but even though it is so far out in July, but can you talk us through the process of, choosing to postpone or cancel such a large event with so many moving parts for those watching who don't sort of work in the event industry?
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, for those who don't know as much about the contest, obviously we still had 3 regional finals due to start when all of this kind of started happening around lockdowns and things like that. So the real challenge for us was that we had 4 grand finalists from our North Island regional finals that were completed a few weeks ago, but we didn't have 3 grand finalists from the South Island. So the real challenge was actually working out whether or not we were going to ever be able to run those 3 regional finals in Aorangi and Tasman and Otago Southland. And it was very much, it was changing day by day in terms, I think the Monday before the Aorangi final, we were still planning to have an evening event. And then by the end of that week, we couldn't have any event. So it was just changing so quickly. And I was really keen to keep looking at alternative options, and then it became very clear that we really just needed some certainty for the contestants, and we needed certainty for FMG and for our sponsors, and just for our team as well, for our events team. So we made that really difficult call, but it was very much a moving feast for about 3 weeks.
Following one of the contestants who had made it through on social media, I wouldn't put it past her that she would be able to do that as a go into the grand final as a young mum. I mean, she's incredible. This is Lisa Kendall. But how have you been able to, is it just start from scratch again? How have you made that fair for the 3 that have qualified and the 3 that haven't? What's the sort of process for next year look like?
Well, we're going back to a clean slate next year.
Right.
So And we definitely went round and round in circles around whether or not we should automatically put the 4 from this year into grand final for next year, or whether we put them straight into regional finals, or how we went about it. And we determined that we didn't want to compromise next year's season. If we were going to miss this year, we wanted to make sure that we could actually have a really good full season next year. So going back to square one and starting from scratch and getting those 4 grand finalists to re-qualify next year just ended up being the best decision. And so they will remain as regional final champions and grand finalists for this year. We just won't have a grand final winner for 2020. So they're still champions, just didn't get to compete in the grand final.
And sponsors have been extremely supportive to see you through till next year?
Oh, incredibly supportive, and I can't thank FMG enough. I mean, they have just been not only being supportive in terms of seeing us through to next year, but just in terms of helping us work through this process of making the decision to cancel. They've been incredible with their resources around, looking at communications and how, what are the implications if we don't do it. So yeah, I can't thank them enough, and our other sponsors. We haven't had as much chance to engage with them over the last couple of weeks, but we're doing that now, and largely everyone's been really supportive, which is amazing.
On a positive note, you've been able to continue online with the Teen Ag competition. How are you doing that?
Well, that's a work in progress at the moment. So we made the decision that we could continue to do that online. And that's largely because we've actually gone ahead and done our regional finals online with those teen ag clubs. So the only bit teen ag contestants. So the only bit that's been missing, well, it's not actually teen ag, it's FMG Junior Young Farmer of the Year. So they have been able to do their exams and their modules, and then a final online quiz like we would normally do at a regional final, but just doing it online. And because of the success of the regional finals, we decided that, hey, let's try and do something for these guys that have worked so hard this year and make sure we have at least some form of grand final. So we're looking to do that now. We're working through the details, figuring out what it looks like and what we'll do. And then hopefully we'll come out soon with dates and times and formats and things like that.
How is New Zealand Young Farmers tracking as an organisation with under your, you've been there, what, two years now, Lynda?
Not quite, about 18 months now. But yeah.
How's that been, being able to implement your vision for it, despite this niggly little virus that you've come up against as well?
Well, I think that, largely we're lucky enough to be in a sector that is an essential service through this. And so, our strategic objectives of supporting our members and their wellness and supporting their learning and development opportunities and their success and so on doesn't change. We still have our members and we still have to support them. And a lot of them are going through a lot of uncertainty at the moment, not knowing, what's happening with jobs, with labour, just with the economy in general. So we want to make sure that they remain our focus, and that's not only our New Zealand Young Farmers members, but it's also our teen ag members who are, we like to think, young farmers members in training. So we're working really hard to make sure that we're sort of keeping those support networks going for them.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. CEO of New Zealand Young Farmers, Lynda Coopersmith. And
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. This is Sarah's Country.